All right, so thinking about starting a business. Huh. Exciting stuff. I know it can feel a little overwhelming, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
So many things to figure out.
Right.
But that's what today's deep dive is all about. Breaking down this comprehensive guide we found about launching a successful small business. We'll try to make it a little less intimidating, hopefully.
Yeah,
Pull out those golden nuggets and leave you feeling a little more confident, ready to jump in.
exactly. And I think this guy does a really nice job emphasizing that crucial first step.
Yeah.
You got to have a solid business idea.
Yeah, for sure. Makes sense.
You can't just like have an idea and assume it's going to work.
Right. Like I could invent, I don't know, a self-folding laundry basket.
Okay.
But if nobody wants it,
Nobody's buying it.
yeah,
Yeah.
so what does the guide say about actually making sure your idea has legs?
Well, it talks a lot about validating demand,
Mhm.
actually going out there and figuring out if there's a market for what you're offering. And it gives some really concrete strategies for doing that.
Okay, I like concrete. Give me an example.
All right, well, they talk about this woman, Maria, loved to bake.
Okay, classic entrepreneur story.
Right. Everyone's always telling her how amazing her cakes are.
Yeah, yeah.
So she's like, maybe I could turn this into a business. But she doesn't just assume it'll work.
Good for her.
She actually goes out and surveys people in her area, specifically families. And what does she find out? They're frustrated with the existing cake shops, yeah. They're expensive. They don't offer a lot of customization options. So Maria sees a gap.
A need that's not being met. Genius.
And that's where the magic happens. You identify that gap and then use that knowledge to craft what we call your unique value proposition.
UVP. Love that term.
Mhm.
Okay, so in Maria's case, what was her UVP?
So for Maria, it was simple, affordable, customizable cakes,
Yeah.
but still, of course, delicious. And because she did that initial research, she knew people would actually pay for that.
That's so smart. It's not just about what you offer, right? It's about solving a problem for your customers.
Exactly. Okay, I've got another example for you from the guide.
Bring it on.
A guy named David who wants to open a gym.
Okay. But like gyms are everywhere.
Right. So how does he make sure his idea stands out? Well, he notices that most gyms in his town are really geared towards people who are already super into fitness.
Yeah, those can be intimidating.
Right. Nobody's really catering to beginners. So he sees an opportunity there.
To create a gym that's welcoming, not scary, smart.
Exactly. He wants it to be supportive, specifically designed for people who are new to working out. But again, he doesn't just open the gym and cross his fingers.
Okay, how does he validate his idea?
Surveys, for one. He even offered free fitness workshops to kind of gauge interest.
Love that.
And you know what? The response was huge.
People wanted that beginner-friendly environment.
They were craving it,
Mm-hmm.
which gave him the confidence to actually move forward.
Makes sense. So we've got this amazing validated business idea.
Hmm.
Now what? Do we just like find a building and start selling stuff?
Not so fast. This is where the business plan comes in.
Ah, yes. The dreaded business plan. I'm already feeling overwhelmed.
Don't worry, it's not as scary as it sounds. Think of it like a roadmap.
Okay, I like roadmaps.
Right. It's going to guide you through the whole process of actually starting and running this thing. And for those who've already done this before, you know it's a way to refine your existing plans too.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I know a lot of people, myself included probably, get a little intimidated by all the different sections and components of a business plan. What does this guide focus on?
Well, it covers everything from the executive summary, your elevator pitch.
To the financial projections. Always
Yeah.
a fun one.
That's the one a lot of people get tripped up on.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
But the guide does a nice job explaining it all clearly, giving you examples. Like they talk about Marie again, right? She actually sat down and outlined all her startup costs.
So like a new oven,
Exactly. Maybe a bigger one, professional grade baking supplies.
ingredients, all that fun stuff. Did she actually try to project how much money she would make too?
Yeah. Projected her revenue. Based on the average price of her cakes, how many orders she thought she'd get each week. Smart, right?
Yeah, it's like having a financial crystal ball.
You can make informed decisions about pricing, expenses. See if you're actually going to be profitable.
Okay, I'm starting to see the value of this business plan thing. So we've got the idea, we've got the plan. But how do we actually make it happen? Let's talk money, the not so fun part.
Ah, yes, financing. Often the biggest hurdle. But it doesn't have to be a deal breaker.
Oh, good, because I was starting to sweat a little bit.
The guide breaks down a few different financing options, each with their pros and cons, of course.
Okay, lay it on me.
All right, well, first up, you got self-funding. Bootstrapping, as they call it.
Using your own savings.
Yep. Gives you complete control, but it can be risky.
Especially if you maybe don't have a ton saved up.
Right. Then there are small business loans. A good option if you've got a solid plan, good credit history, something that David actually explored for his gym.
Fit Start Gym, right. I actually remember reading about the Small Business Administration, the SBA, in this guide.
Oh, yeah. They have some great resources for entrepreneurs.
It can be a little confusing navigating all that stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then there's crowdfunding, which is becoming super popular.
Kickstarter, Indiegogo, all that.
Exactly. Tap into a wider pool of people who are, passionate about your idea and want to see you succeed.
I guess it's not as easy as it sounds, though, right?
No, you need a really compelling pitch to
Yeah.
get people to invest. And then, of course, there's always external investors, angel investors, venture capitalists. You can provide more capital.
But they want a piece of the pie.
Exactly. Equity in your company.
Mm-hmm.
So in the end, David actually used a combination of self-funding and a small business loan for FitStart.
Smart. And, he was also really savvy about minimizing his startup costs.
Oh, yeah. Like how?
He negotiated discounts with local suppliers for his equipment, even found a used treadmill in great condition, saved a ton of money that way.
See, it's all about being resourceful. Okay,
Right.
now let's talk about the legal stuff. Making this business legit.
Ooh, yeah, that's important. What do we need to know?
Well, first, you got to choose the right business structure. This impacts everything from your taxes to your personal liability.
This is where I usually get lost in all the legal jargon. Can we break it down?
Sure. So you've got sole proprietorships. The simplest to set up. It's basically just you running the show as an individual.
Okay, that makes sense for someone like Maria, working from home.
Exactly. But remember, with a sole proprietorship, your personal and business liabilities are all mixed together.
So if the business goes into debt...
You're personally on the hook. So that's something to consider. Then you have partnerships, where it's 2 or more people teaming up.
Got it.
Can be great if you have complementary skills, but you absolutely need a partnership agreement, like a prenup for your business.
Oh, I like that analogy. So what about LLCs?
LLCs, or limited liability companies, offer that personal liability protection we were talking about, plus some tax advantages.
Sounds like a good option. Is that what David went with?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
He wanted that protection for FitStart Gym. And then there are corporations, which are more complex, usually better for bigger companies.
More paperwork, I'm assuming.
Right. So which structure is right for you depends on your circumstances, your risk tolerance, all that.
Right. This is definitely a consult with a professional situation.
Absolutely. Okay, now that you've chosen a structure, let's talk about making it official. Registering the business.
This is where things start to feel real, huh?
It is. But the guide makes the process sound pretty straightforward. First, you got to pick a name. Unique, memorable, something that reflects your brand. And then, super important, check if it's available.
Don't want to get your heart set on a name that's already taken. How do you do that?
Check your state's business registry website. And if you're planning on having a website, check if the domain name's available too.
Oh, yeah, good point. We'll talk more about websites and online marketing later, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Okay, next up are licenses and permits. These vary depending on your industry, where you are, all that.
So Maria, with her cakes, probably needed a food handler's permit.
Right. Make sure her kitchen was up to code. David probably had to get permits for the gym equipment, make sure the facility was safe.
Lots of boxes to check.
Yeah, it's all about being compliant. And finally, we can't forget about taxes.
Everyone's favorite topic.
Right. But super important to understand your responsibilities there. Depending on how you're structured, you might need an EIN, employer identification number.
Like a social security number for your business.
Exactly. All right, so we've got a registered business, all legal and everything. Now we can actually start thinking about the practical stuff. Setting up shop,
The fun stuff, right?
location, equipment, team.
Do we need to go all out and buy everything right away?
Not necessarily. The guide recommends starting with the necessities and then scaling up as you grow.
Makes sense. You don't want to overspend in the beginning. So, location. How do we choose the right spot?
Well, if you have a brick-and-mortar business, it should be accessible to your target customers.
And reflect your brand, right?
Okay.
Like a trendy boutique wouldn't want to be in a rundown mall.
Exactly. But if you're online, you'll be focusing more on building a strong online presence. So David, he leased a space in a busy shopping center. Good visibility. But Maria, since she was mainly online, just converted her garage into a professional baking studio.
So smart. Okay, what about equipment and supplies? Any tips there?
Start with the basics. Invest in the higher-end stuff later, when you can afford it. You don't need a top-of-the-line espresso machine if you're just starting out with a little coffee cart.
I love that analogy. Okay, last thing, building a team. Do we need to hire a bunch of people right away?
Not necessarily. Lots of entrepreneurs start solo wearing all the hats. But as you grow, you'll probably need help. Think about the skills you're missing, whether it's marketing, sales, operations. Plan for those future hires.
Got it. Okay, so we've laid the groundwork. We're legit. We've got a place to work, maybe some equipment.
Hmm.
Now, how do we actually get those customers?
Ah, yes. The exciting world of marketing. It's all about attracting customers, building your brand, and ultimately growing your business.
And there's so much to talk about there. Luckily, we have more time.
We do. We'll be back in a moment to dive into all that. Stay tuned. All right, so we were talking marketing before the break, getting the word out about your awesome new business.
Yeah, and this guide has a ton of info about that. One thing I was really interested in was building a strong brand. What did they have to say about that?
It's not just about like having a cool logo or a slogan. It's deeper than that.
Right, it's more than just aesthetics.
Exactly. It's about the whole customer experience, making it consistent, memorable.
Like when you think of Apple or Nike.
Yeah, they're not just selling products.
It's a feeling, an idea.
Exactly. And one of the best ways to build that strong brand is through amazing customer service.
It seems like everyone's talking about customer service these days.
And for good reason.
Yeah, with online reviews and all that.
It can make or break you. So it's about going above and beyond for your customers.
Meeting their needs, making them feel valued.
Exactly. Think about a time you had like really great customer service.
Oh, I can think of a few.
It made you want to go back, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
And you probably told all your friends.
Word of mouth is powerful. Okay, but it's not just about getting new customers. It's also about keeping the ones you have.
Customer retention.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How do we build that loyalty? The guide has some ideas.
Blame on me.
Loyalty programs, personalized communication,
Okay, makes sense.
special offers, discounts for repeat customers, just staying in touch, showing appreciation.
It's building a relationship.
Exactly. Like Maria with her Cokes, she sends out a monthly newsletter. Recipes, baking tips, special offers. It's smart.
Yeah, keeps her top of mind. And the guide also talked about asking for feedback.
Oh, that's so important.
Yeah, whether it's surveys, reviews, just casual conversations.
Find out what you're doing well, what you could do better.
It's like a direct line to your customers.
Right. So you can adjust, refine, make sure you're meeting their needs. Speaking of adjusting, we should talk about tracking metrics.
Ooh, the numbers. My favorite.
I know, not the most exciting part, but it's important to see how your business is actually performing.
Yeah, okay, I get it. Like having a dashboard.
Exactly. Things like website traffic, sales conversion rates.
Customer acquisition costs, all that.
Right. The guide explains it all in a way that's easy to understand, even if you're not, a math whiz.
And I appreciate that. So you can actually use this data to make better decisions.
Exactly. And speaking of making decisions, one thing the guide stresses is being adaptable.
Oh yeah, things change all the time.
Constantly.
Yeah.
So you got to be ready to pivot, adjust your business if you need to.
Roll with the punches.
Right. It can be scary, but sometimes you need to discontinue a product, maybe even change your whole business model.
If that's what it takes to stay ahead of the curve.
Exactly. And through it all, don't forget to celebrate the wins.
Oh, yeah. So important. Those little victories keep you going.
Absolutely. It's hard work starting a business.
You got to acknowledge your accomplishments.
It's like refueling your tank, reminding yourself why you're doing this. And the guide reminds us that this is a marathon, not a sprint.
There will be ups and downs.
For sure. But it's so rewarding.
So what are some things our listeners should remember as they go on this journey?
Well, validate that idea. Don't just assume there's a market. Do your research.
Right.
And make a solid business plan that'll keep you on track.
And choose the right legal structure. We talked about that earlier. It's important.
Definitely get some professional advice there. And don't be afraid to try different marketing approaches.
Be creative. Have fun with it.
Exactly. Building a business is a journey, not a destination. So we'll be back in a bit to wrap up this deep dive.
All right. Welcome back to our deep dive. Lots to think about, huh? What really stood out to you from this guide so far?
One thing I appreciated was that they were honest about the challenges, They didn't sugarcoat it.
Yeah, starting a business is definitely not all sunshine and rainbows.
Long hours, financial risks, self-doubt.
Moments where you're like, why am I doing this?
Right. But I think those challenges are also opportunities.
In what way?
They make you grow, you know.
Yeah, push you outside your comfort zone.
Exactly. You got to think creatively, become more resilient.
So setbacks are inevitable.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
how you handle them that matters.
That's what the guide says, too. And they give some good advice on that, like finding a mentor, learning from your mistakes.
Oh, yeah, support is so important. And the guide talked about building a strong network.
Advisors, mentors, other entrepreneurs.
People who get it.
Right, people who've been there.
Whether it's a formal mentor or just, a friend you can bounce ideas off of.
Having that support system is huge.
And I think something we often forget, taking care of yourself.
Oh, that's so crucial.
It's easy to get caught up in the hustle and just,
Work, work, work.
yeah, and then you burn out.
Exactly. The guide reminds us that we have to prioritize our well-being, too.
Physical and mental health.
It's an investment in your business, really, if you're not taking care of yourself.
You can't show up fully. So true. All right, as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the most inspiring takeaway from all of this?
You know, for me, it's that every successful entrepreneur started somewhere.
They all had that first step.
They had an idea, they took a chance, and they didn't give up, even when things got tough.
It's a reminder that you don't need to have it all figured out.
Just start. Take action. You'll learn along the way.
And there's so much support out there. Books, websites, organizations.
Other entrepreneurs who are happy to help.
So to all those aspiring business owners listening,
Don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to ask questions.
take that leap of faith, believe in yourself, and go make that dream a reality.